men's pommel next event. And those athletes will be introduced shortly. They'll have their warm-up period.
So the 8 finalists for the men's pommel horse marching out. A rich history in pommel horse in Australia, with Australia's own Prashant Salathirai taking it to the legend Christian Berkey, who's here with us. And hopefully we see another really close battle on pommel horse tonight. It's one of those apparatus where, you know, your shoulder's a little bit off centre and you're off the horse, and there goes your medal chance. So it's one of those ones where anybody in the final is in with a chance for a medal. Hopefully some of the young Australians can take it to Christian Berkey and the rest of the field.
Athletes just being introduced here. Our start list is Ahmed Onda from Turkey, but I reckon that's Atakan who's been introduced, and it is. So yeah, so Atakan, we saw him warming up, and I looked down at the start list and couldn't quite work out why his name wasn't on it, but he's there, and Odner's not. So Berkey's the tall athlete in the purple Hungarian uniform, the Olympic champion, and there's Chris Remke's one of just the two that are doing both events here. So the athletes warming up. We can go back down to James Sherry, who's with Emily Little.
Yes, Emily Little holding a jar of Vegemite with I like the idea. I'm not so sure about the actual word that's there. You're a bit disappointed?
Honestly, no. I mean, you know, I had some really good vaults out there tonight. I had high execution, and you know, coming second to those two amazing vaults, she had higher difficulty than me. So I'm just really happy with my execution, and I'm really keen to go home now and upgrade both of my vaults.
Yeah, and Ali was saying, I was chatting with her earlier, she said that at this stage in the cycle, you don't want to be shooting too high anyway, do you?
No, not really. I mean, it's the start of the year. I'm really happy to be here competing, like, in my home country, so that's exciting. But, yeah, it's just the start of the year, just getting a feel for things. So I'll start to upgrade my vaults now, and hopefully I'll come back here in May and do some harder vaults.
Indeed. Do you still hold on to the top spot? Because after Germany, you were #1 in the World Cup.
Yep. I'm not sure, actually. I'm hoping so. That would make my day.
But you didn't check the numbers before you started tonight?
No, I'm not sure. I'll wait and see.
Yeah. Emily, congratulations. Second, better than not making the podium, and good news for Australia is you know, bronze and silver in the vault. So obviously some good depth and some good work that we can see coming through.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for all your cheering. I'm loving it. I'm going to go enjoy some Vegemite now.
Yeah, excellent. Do that.
Thanks. Vegemite and avocado. It's really good if you haven't tried it.
Nice. Thank you. There you go. There's something for all of us there.
Thanks, James, with Emily Little there, engaging character. And if you can send some of that avocado and Vegemite up to the commentary box, that would be fantastic. Men's pommel not too far away. Athletes warming up for the pommel. There's always a lot of alterations to the apparatus, and I've always wondered, Sam Offord, what they're doing under there with the bottom of the horse. What, are they just tightening up the handles or spreading them a little further apart? Or
Absolutely, it does look like they're tickling the horse, but what they're actually doing is there's a little piece of equipment underneath that you can untie and make those handles wider or narrower as you see fit. So
by how much?
Oh, they'll go in from, there's probably a 10 to 20 centimetre variance across the two. Okay. So the guys can do that also on the parallel bars. You'll see that tomorrow night in our coverage. And so they'll measure exactly where they want that. Depending on how big you are, you might want it wider or smaller. So
based on the width of your shoulders or just personal preference? Or
normally based on the width of your shoulders is about right, but it is personal preference. So you'll see the guys actually put their forearm in between and measure between their elbow and the tip of their fingers. And normally it's around about that, give or take a couple of finger widths. So you'll see see them vary that.
And would there be much variation in that for this field? 8 competitors. How much would be the widest and the narrowest, and the difference between them?
Oh, I reckon there would be 15, perhaps 10 to 15 centimetres. Wow. I mean, you look at somebody like Chris Remkes, who's, what did you say it was?
147.
140 centimetres. I think if he's that many, you can't call him 147 centimetres tall, can you? He's 147 centimetres short, and somebody like Christian Berkey is going to be having those handles a lot wider than him. So it does also vary depending on the skills that you do. So you might see some of the athletes do what we call Russian Wender swings, or those in the centre of the horse, and you might want the handles a little wider to accommodate for that. So it's personal preference depending on how big or tall you are and the skills that you'd like to perform on this apparatus.
Well, you're a South Australian, Sam, so you probably a little envious of the fact that Melbourne's the sporting capital of the world, but Ali Raceman has been discovering all of that over the past couple of days. Where else did you go to, Manette, on the travelling roadshow of the 3-time Olympic champion, Ali Raceman?
Well, we saw some of the sites in Melbourne. You can see we saw the alleyways and all the artwork that Melbourne has to offer. Took her around Fed Square and down along the Yarra. It was a beautiful day, and of course I made sure she tried a Melbourne coffee to just top off the whole Melbourne experience.
Are gymnasts big coffee drinkers? I'll start with you, Manette.
I'd say 1 coffee a day would be probably a max that was my personal preference, but again, personal preference, so I like to stick to 1.
What about you, Sam? One wouldn't get me past 6:30.
I probably have 1 coffee before I even get out of bed in the morning, Dave. I was trying to study whilst competing at senior ranks, and I couldn't have got through either training or study, let alone both, without several coffees. So coffee it up for me.
Well, you picked a career that you should know a lot about as a gymnast because you're a physiotherapist, so plenty of experience firsthand of being on the other side of the physiotherapy bench.
Absolutely. I think that's probably what gave me my appreciation and love for the job that I now carry out. And what I tell everybody is that I spent 20 years learning to break my body, and now I'm learning how to fix them. So it's a great career to get into, so and allowed me to stay involved with gymnastics at another level. So it's been great.
One of the great things about hosting a major event like this Gymnastics World Cup is the young athletes who get to see their stars and their heroes up close. They'd all be totally bedazzled by Ali Raceman, that's for sure, but seeing the likes of Emily Little, and I know we talked about this last night, but when Manette won her World Championship bronze medal, Lauren Mitchell was one of the young athletes in the crowd, went on to become a world champion. Just 11 or 12, and there was another couple of athletes from the Western Australian Institute of Sport there at the same time that were busily watching you, Manette, win World Championship medals for Australia.
Yeah, there's something special about watching your idol, and especially if you can do it in, the same country and watching them live. It's really empowering and very motivating, and so a lot of girls and boys out here tonight will be looking up to their idols and aspiring to be like them.
Well, you two were very lucky because you had a World Championship and the Commonwealth Games back-to-back in the same venue.
It was a very special thing, and hopefully these athletes, the Australian athletes, are getting a taste of that, what it's like to have a full stadium absolutely scream for you just because you're Australian. I know that was an amazing thing for myself when I got to, fortunately enough, to compete at both of those events, and hopefully that just gives them a taste and an appreciation for that and prepares them for what's to come in the Gold Coast in 404 days' time. I was told that the schedule for that comes out on April the 4th, and then by the end of April people can book their tickets. So I know after this everybody will be raring to go and trying to book their tickets for the gymnastics, so keep an eye on that. So
here's Ferhat Atakan of Turkey, who's already collected a medal on floor, bronze, and he is the opening athlete to go in the men's pommel final.
Some good one-handle flop work there, pressing up into the handstand. He'll come back down onto the horse in a second. Just managing to keep that going there. Judges are looking for really fluid movement through here and no leg separation. apart from obviously when he's doing the flares. The Shavado travel. Pressing up into the dismount. Just putting that together. So 2 from 2 for Adekar. Will be a happy little Vegemite.
Well, he's one of the athletes that will benefit from this new format with the Apparatus World Cup, because hard for Turkey to qualify a men's team for the game. So without that, you've got to rely on being an apparatus specialist or being the one all-rounder who might be able to get through to qualify for the games, which he did in Rio, finished 41st in the all-around competition.
Yeah, so a great thing for him to come here and see the event and see the venue where he will hopefully try and qualify himself if they can't get that team through. So he's taking it with both hands this time and put together 2 good routines. So see a bit of a replay of some of his work. He's supposed to try and keep that flowing the whole time, not stop in that handstand position. So the judges will use some ink on their pads for that one.
Just a little stumble there. It's such a difficult apparatus. You have to move from one end to the other and show all of those variations and keep moving.
Yeah, absolutely. I call it the beam with handles. It's not much wider than the beam. It's about 30 centimetres. And the gymnasts having to do the scissor work where they go with their legs in between. They also have to travel up and down the horse, as well as do some spinning and turning elements. So he's got all of that in there, but just not quite kept the fluidity up. So staying on the horse is the first job. And he's done that, and will post a score that everybody else will chase now.
13.900 is that score. So that's the opening effort for Ferhat Adekar. And now, well, the man who the International Federation voted as the best pommel worker in history, Christian Berkey, the 31-year-old from Hungary, Olympic champion, 3-time world champion in this apparatus, and there is no better exponent than the 31-year-old from Hungary.
Also 6-time European champion on this event, and you'll see his scissor work at the start here, scissoring straight up to handstand, directly connected into the reverse scissor to handstand. You'll see that amplitude that he gets on the leg, swinging it right up high, and you'll see the beautiful line that he gets. Nice long legs and arms, helps him look very graceful on this event. So that's the spinning Russian Wender swing as part of those requirements. Triple Wendy swing in the middle. Straight into the Wu Guan Yan travel. So as we mentioned, you see Christian with the handles out quite wide to accommodate some of those skills there. Just a little hesitation up to handstand there, but that's probably the only blemish in that routine. And I can't see anybody catching it.
A lot of love for Christian Berkey, a knowledgeable, enthusiastic audience that know when they're watching one of the world's best, and that's what Christian Berkey is. Didn't qualify for Rio, had most of 2016 off after not qualifying for the games. Disappointing that he wasn't able to get back and defend that gold medal he won in London. 3-time Hungarian Athlete of the Year.
Absolutely, but it appears that he's going to go around again for another cycle through to 2020. He's obviously hungry for another medal.
Yeah, nice pun. There's interesting that he's back so early, and we'll see it later with Sonia Weavers on the beam tomorrow night. Of, you know, the Olympic champion from nations that don't necessarily win a lot of Olympic medals. The demands on your time are so extreme straight afterwards that most would be like Ali Raceman, just coming back and enjoying the event as an ambassador and not having to worry about the pressure of training and doing the rest of it. So impressive. 13.900. There's confirmation of that score for Adekar. He's obviously got the hunger, Berkey, to come back so quickly. Here's Michael Tone, Queensland, 20 years of age.
Decent scissor work to start. The scissor hop from one end to the other. Just sitting down a little bit there, but one handle work. He's trained hard, Michael, up in Queensland at the centre in Chandler. And Wu trouble, just clipping the horse with his feet, but managing to keep that momentum going. Tong Fei trouble there. Into the Magyar and Savato.
so difficult to maintain that momentum, isn't it? Once you've got your speed up, it doesn't take much to have a little tumble.
Absolutely. It's one of those things you need to be really pushing itself to the limit just to be able to keep that momentum up, and with nerves and the pressure of a final and following the 2012 Olympic gold medalist, sometimes you don't push those circles out and sometimes you can come unstuck, but hopefully Michael can finish this off cleanly now. Shibado just needs to push that out a little wider. She'll only the dismount to come up onto the handle, straight up in a handstand. So a clean finish. So be disappointed there, Michael. Obviously the goal is to stay on the apparatus. But a good experience for him to be in a star-studded final.
Well, he qualified in 7th spot with 12.333, so something in that order would be a good result for him.
So the Tong Fei travel there, and then he'll go. You see such a small area that the gymnasts have to work on, get 2 hands on that small handle as well. It's got to be perfectly precise hand placement. And just see this fall here, as you said, not quite pushing those circles out wide enough and getting the amplitude, and just clipping the leg on the handle there, which doesn't tickle. This dismount, you see, just clipping his foot there as well. So every time you do that, the judges are listening, and between 0.3 and 0.5 deduction for that. So a couple of errors and things to work on, but a good experience for Michael in a home World Cup.
So here's the score for Christian Berkey, 14.933. You've given him the gold medal already. There's still some talent to come, but based on what we saw in the qualifying, well, Weng Ho of China, 14.466, and his teammate Zhu Jingwan, they can challenge at 14.933 is a strong start. So here's Weng Ho, the 18-year-old from China.
Starting the same as Berkey there, the 2 scissors, but just a little bit of hesitation, so not done as perfectly. But you'll see a beautiful set of one-handle work and circles from the Chinese men. They always look effortless on this apparatus.
He's been a World Challenge gold medalist. Pommel horse in Portugal last year. He was 5th in Cottbus, the last World Cup to complete 2016.
Wuguan to triple Russian, very well executed. You'll see the guys have to have both hands in line when they're in that what's called the loop position. The judges will take deductions if they're not, so he's done pretty well there. Maybe 0.1 if they're being really harsh, and he's not completed that dismount there, so that's going to hurt him. Would have been aiming to go all the length of the horse and do a full 360-degree turn and land on the other side. So he won't fool the judges there. That'll be a bit of deduction, and I think we'll keep Berkey in front.
So Weng Ho of China, one of this group of young Chinese athletes who are here in Melbourne.
Apart from that slight hesitation on that second scissor element, and then getting caught out on the dismount. Beautiful line and beautiful execution on this apparatus.
I was thinking which is the most difficult apparatus for young athletes. Is it the pommel or is it the rings? And then I added the parallel bars in as well. There's so many different men's apparatus that are so tough. Is there one that's harder than the other for the youngsters as they come through the ranks?
I think you're right. A lot of the time, the composure on the pommel horse is a difficult thing. But often you can get by and learn a lot of new skills without needing that adult body, whereas the rings takes a lot of time to develop that strength. Then, as you said, there's parallel bars, there's horizontal bar, there's floor, there's all of the other apparatus. But I think in terms of developing that really mature adult body, rings is probably the one that comes on the latest. But there's 6 apparatus to work on, and there's lots of skills to learn, so plenty of work to do.
Well, we'll see the rings a little later with the women's uneven bars. 11.633 was the score for Michael Tone. We'll wait for Weng's score. This is Zoltan Kalai of Hungary, 32-year-old, 4-time World Championship representative. This is his best apparatus. So 14.333, you can see the score for Weng. So it's behind Berkey's 14.933.
So the forward scissor to handstand, taking a couple of scissor swings in the middle to get and do the reverse scissor to handstand. So a common start that you will see with a lot of the top guys on pommel horse. And into that one-hander work. Guys like to get that out the way. It's often the most nervy and the hardest to do, so you do that while you're fresh. Relatively. So the Wu Guanyan not doing the triple Russian at the end of that. May do that later. Good travel work. Hands not perfectly square. So quick routine up into the handstand, and that's a well-executed dismount. So very clean routine there from Zoltan Kalai.
So obviously the athletes have to put a number of elements into their routine, but the duration can vary from athlete to athlete.
Absolutely. You can do as many circles as you like in between some of the skills to prepare, but the guy's aiming to do the least amount that they can. The less time you can spend on there means less time the judges can take deductions, and you do try and coordinate and design your routine so that you get on and get off as quickly as possible. So good close-up there, showing that precise movement of the hands. Not sure exactly what the difficulty will be. Perhaps a little lower than Berkey's, but I think he might just squeeze himself in between first and second there, Kalai, with that. I've had a good track record of guessing so far, so we'll see how we go.
His qualifying routine had a degree of difficulty of 5.7 to Berkey's 6.3. So this one was 6.2. So just in behind there, 14.333. And that's the score for Wang Hao, whose difficulty of 6.2 was just behind. So yeah, Kalai was 5.7 in qualifying, so we'll wait to see if he can go above the 14.333 of Wang Hao, and only see it on the scoreboard when the next athlete gets up, and that's Yusuke Saito of Japan.
Just going through a bit of mental rehearsal there of that routine. Judges are ready for him now. Again, the Japanese normally beautiful workers on this apparatus too, so see what Saito can produce. Straight into the scissor work. With a bit of a banana bend in the back in that first one. Single hander work, often called flops. Oh, and he's just managed to save that, putting those hands not quite in the right position to get the difficulty that he'd be looking for. But had to adjust so that he stayed on the horse. A nice circle hop to handstand dismount there. I think we'll see that fairly low in the difficulty compared to Christian Berkey, but he managed to save that and stay on the horse. So interesting to see the score as we saw that nearly lost over the top, that scissor to handstand, and that one coming just a little bit short of handstand. So a couple of things to work on there. So we'll see that Wu travel just nearly falling off there. The gymnasts will need to keep the middle of their chest just over the middle of the horse, otherwise it's very hard to stay on. It's a bit of a coaching tip that coaches will give young athletes. There's a good transition to handstand on that dismount. So happy to stay on, but a little bit to work on there for Saito.
So we wait for his score, but here are the standings with Berkey leading 14.933, the London Olympic champion, ahead of Wang of China, and Berkey's teammate Zoltan Kalai, the Hungarian, in third place, 14.966, just ahead of Atakan, who's not going to get his second medal of these opening World Cup of 2017. Michael Tone in fifth, but we wait for the score of Saito, 13.533. And next up is Zhu Jinyuan, the 18-year-old from China.
Just missing the start of that routine there, but going into his scissor work now. Very impressive young Chinese gymnast, only 19 years of age. I think he's going to be a superstar to come. And I've almost jinxed him there. Commentator's curse. Moving into the Magyar and Savado travels, the forwards and backwards down the length of the horse. Up in a handstand. A very nice line from the young Chinese gymnast there.
They qualified third for this final, just behind his teammate Wang Ho. And so something in the 14s will have him on the podium for sure. Just one competitor to come, that's Chris Remkes of Australia.
It's a beautiful full spindle and then the triple Russian on the end to start with. And then into the one-hand work. Or one-handle, I should say. One-hand would be a bit hard. You see this dismount straight up to the top of handstand there without any hesitation. So very clean routine there from Zoe, and we'll see whether he can feature in the medals. But hopefully the young pocket rocket from Australia, Christopher Remkes, can push for one of these medals. He does have a decent difficulty on here and can show a really nice line. He does have a couple of really nice elements. He'll do some circles up into handstand and then come back down onto the horse if he does what he's been training anyway.
He qualified in fourth, but he will need to improve on the 13.4 that he scored. So there's 14.433 for Zhu. So that has him in second spot. So the medal at the moment is Wang of China at 14.333. That's the bronze medal going into this final performer. It's Chris Remkes of Australia in the men's pommel.
Good scissor to handstand there. Clean start, as we said, up into the handstand. A little bit of hesitation there, unfortunately, and he's kicked the horse on the way down, so it's going to lose him some deduction marks in his execution. Well muscled around there on the one handle. And the 3 Russian swings on the end of the horse. Into his treble work now. He's just clipped the horse there at the end, just letting those feet get a little too low. It's disappointing for Chris. He may have lost too many deduction marks on that work where he went up in a handstand and came back down, but he'll definitely be out of the medals, unfortunately, now with that fall. It's often hard coming up last. You warm up, then you have to wait for everybody to go and get a little colder than everybody else, as well as the pressure of the performers in front of you. We've seen some good routines. Hopefully Chris can push this dismount up quickly. Upgrading that one well with the turn up and down the horse, but unfortunately won't feature in the medals, but a good experience for him in another final in a World Cup.
Well, he was close to getting this job done, wasn't he, before he came off? He just had that final element before the dismount. Got the 20-year-old from South Australia, based in Canberra. The experience of a World Cup final. You can see there it started to go a little south, and he knew that he wasn't able quite to get the routine done.
So the gymnast, the value of that dismount goes up 2 values when he travels down the horse one way and then back the other.
So there's the score for Zhu Jingwan, 14.433, which has him in second spot behind Christian Berkey. Wang Ho from China third, 14.333. And I reckon they'll be our podium place getters in the men's pommel. I don't think that I'm certain that Chris Remkes won't be up into the 14s that he would need to be on the podium here. Hungarian fans happy. Busy signing autographs for the fans, having told us all that she needs to have some avocado and Vegemite. She'll be back tomorrow night for finals on the second night of the finals here. Sell out tomorrow night at Melbourne's Hisense Arena. So for his Remke's 11.800. So that will have him in 7th spot.
Yeah, thumbs up. He's still have been up. He's got a couple of. He's at least got the vault final to come tomorrow. So, and a couple of big vaults for him. So, looking forward to that.
So here's the final standings of the men's pommel, and it's Christian Berkey, the London Olympic gold medalist, taking the gold medal here as head of Zhu of China. Weng, China, silver and bronze to China. They've already won gold in the women's vault. Kalai of Hungary just tipped out of the medals. Here's the medal winning routines. This was Weng Hao, the 18-year-old World Challenge winner last year on this apparatus.
Just showing how it's done. That beautiful triple Russian on the one handle. Very difficult to execute. Most of the athletes deciding to do those at the end on the leather, much like Hao's doing there. You can also do it on the one handle, so plenty of tricks in his bag. It's just a beautiful line on the horse. Judges will be looking to see if there's an angle at the hips. And as you can see with him, beautifully straight. So he'll be dark on himself that he didn't execute that dismount as well, because that could have put him above the great Christian Berkey. But
So Zhu Yingwan, like Weng, just 18 years of age. Busy beginning for him.
yeah, opting to do the scissors at the scissor requirements in the middle of his routine, which not as common as getting it done at the start. Sometimes it's harder to break the rhythm with your scissor work in the middle, but very talented young gymnast. You can see a very strong and power-packed competitor. Coming a little unstuck there, just in that three-quarter Russian off the one handle. But again, beautiful travel work, beautiful line through the hips to shoulders. And not mucking around, taking that dismount straight to handstand. So deserving of the silver medal there, a little cleaner than his Chinese counterpart. But the magician, who was up second, showed everybody how to put himself up into first place.
Here he is, Christian Berkey, the 31-year-old, who 3 times the world champion, Olympic champion from London. Tallest man in the field, but such elegance.
It's with that long body and long line of his, it makes it look like he's got extra time compared to everybody else. Just always in ultimate control of his body. That's the triple Russian in between the handles, which is very hard. You've got those handles right near you there, and it's hard to keep clearance over those. You see those travels up and down the horse. Everybody does those slightly differently. Some of them stepping on the handles and then back down. Christian choosing to go in between the handles.
So 14.933, the winning score for Christian Berkey. So there's the confirmation of those standings, with Berkey ahead of Zhu and Weng in the men's pommel. So a little coach challenge going on out on the arena at the moment, so we'll take a look around the sights of Melbourne. Best gymnasts are going to love coming to Melbourne for the next 4 years for this apparatus World Cup in the lead up to the Tokyo Olympic Games. Ready for the medal ceremony for the men's pommel. Still to come, women's uneven bars and men's rings. Zhu Jinwan, who's on the podium here in second place, will return for the rings, along with Michael Tone, who was in 8th spot. Just the two backing up those apparatus. It's a busy half an hour or so for those two competitors. Two of the most punishing apparatus. And women's uneven bars, where Australia have got a strong hand with Rihanna Misson and Georgia Rose Brown up against two very talented Chinese competitors. And still to come, this opening night of finals at the World Cup of Gymnastics here in Melbourne. Well, it's a good start for Christian Berkey, Sam, that he's been able to come back from the disappointment of not being able to defend his title in Rio at 31 years of age. I think, do I call it a day? Shoulder injury that kept him out of qualifying for the Games, but he's returned, and plenty of support from the Hungarian fans, and he won't be young by the time he gets to Tokyo, another 3.5 years' time.
No, but he's certainly got the form, and we can see that he's still one of the masters of this apparatus. So not having spoken to him, but I think perhaps the disappointment of missing out on Olympic Games means that he's hungry to get back for the first set of competitions as soon as they're on, and that chance was given to him with this World Cup here in Melbourne. So I think he probably, when you have a disappointment like that, sometimes just getting back on the horse, so to speak, is some of the best medicine for it.
So Wing Ho, bronze medalist here.
In second place, the winner of the silver medal with a score of 14.433, representing the People's Republic of China, Zhou Jinwan. First place, and winner of the gold medal with a score of 14.933, representing Hungary, Christian Berkey.
Popular figure, the big man from Hungary, takes the gold medal here in the men's pommel horse.
There's no fuss with Christian. He's a very nice guy, very personable, quiet guy, but as you said, very popular around the world and around the circuit, and you can't deny that when he's as successful as he is.
Place-getters in the men's pommel horse with Christian Berkey, pleasing the Hungarian fans here at Hisense Arena with his victory.
and gentlemen, that concludes our presentation. We will be back with the next rotation.
So the pommel horse podium place getters leave.